You're listening to Podcast PXN,
a video game podcast,
delivering a player experience news.
Let's go! What is up, guys, and welcome to Podcast PXN, episode 280. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Prindle, aka Dan is DTM on Twitter, and I am joined over Discord by the Nintendo aficionado and hardcore casual himself, Roshan Warner, at Roro.
Hello, hello.
Hello. You're still the artist extraordinaire, though.
Thank you.
And we will be joined a little later by the host of Large Popcorn and video producer at The Gamer, Christian Macias, at ISO Christian. He is dealing with the court system or something right now. Good luck. And the reformed Tarkov Teletubby and my fellow Spartan, Gage Dempster, at Gilbo Biggins.
reporting for duty, sir.
So dumb. Thank you to everyone that is watching us live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/@podcastpxn and twitch.tv/podcastpxn as well. The topic of the show this week, guys, is our AI video games taking over? I sure hope not. Let's go ahead and jump right in and talk about that right now. As AI in video games has officially taken another threatening step towards losing everything that makes games special. That's my little insertion there. As Microsoft has officially announced Muse, which is a generative AI model of a video game built by Microsoft in collaboration with Ninja Theory. And essentially, this project takes Ninja Theory's game Bleeding Edge and generates new gameplay from Bleeding Edge using this new model. They say here in their blog post, in our research, we focus on exploring the capabilities that models like Muse need to effectively support human creatives. I'm incredibly proud of our teams and the milestone we have achieved, not only by showing the rich structure of the game world that a model like Muse can learn, as you see in the video demo below, but also, and even more importantly, by demonstrating how to develop research insights to support creative uses of generative AI models. Example gameplay sequences were demonstrated by Muse to demonstrate that their model can generate complex gameplay sequences that are consistent over several minutes. All examples that were shown were generated by prompting the model with 10 initial frames, 1 second, of human gameplay and the controller actions of the whole play sequence. Muse is used in world model mode, meaning that it is used to predict how the game will evolve from the initial prompt sequence. The more closely the generated gameplay sequence resembles the actual game, the more accurately Muse has captured the dynamics of that game. So yeah, let's start there. Are we getting into the point here? Because it does seem like they're trying to position this as being like a supportive project to, yeah, we're going to help the developers and this is what we're going to start with. But like, do we actually believe that bullshit that they're actually going to like just be happy with leaving it there? Because I think it's interesting, just to start us off, I think it's interesting that you could create something like this to like simulate what a player might do in your game that you've already made. But like the idea of this model creating something from scratch by learning how the game works, I completely hate that. That's terrible idea.
There's a couple of red flags for me. First of all, they said that by feeding the AI 10 frames, it said, with button prompts, wouldn't that, I mean, let's say it's a 30 frames per second game, how much you're saying that you're giving the AI like a third of a second with button impresses? Wouldn't that just be like one button for like a third of a second? I don't know. That whole thing seems weird. I don't know. That raises a red flag for me. And then to your second point about are they going to leave it there? No, this is a bad thing. I mean, if you rewind the clocks like 5 years ago when AI was first being talked about in a serious way, we were all pitched that, oh, AI is going to do all the boring stuff that we don't like. And since then, the only industry that has used AI in a meaningful way, and I say meaningful loosely, is the art industry of like making commercials and making posters for movies and filling in VFX. So far, AI has only really been used to take away creative aspects from humans as opposed to doing anything useful. So I don't believe Microsoft for a fucking second, or any video game company, when they say, oh, this is going to be to support people. Yeah, I don't know. That's maybe all it's capable of right now. But as soon as they're fucking able to, I don't think that that's where it'll stay. Unfortunately, maybe that's just me being pessimistic, but that's where I'm at right now.
No, I think I don't think that's me being pessimistic, because it's being done right now at other companies, and like you said, with the creative industry, with already eliminating jobs with how far the AI has come in certain areas. So it's hard for me to imagine them stopping here when the AI just keeps getting better. So when it gets better, unfortunately they're going to want to use it, and that just means less and less humans are necessary in these particular roles. And I don't remember who said it, but I see it brought up often in these conversations and Gage mentioned it as well, where we were hoping for the AI to do all the boring stuff. And the quote that I see thrown around a lot is that I want AI to do my dishes and clean my carpet so I can make art, not so the AI can do the art so I can clean the dishes and clean my carpet. Like, it's the opposite that's happening right now, which is so sad. But yeah, I also don't see it stopping, unfortunately, because I don't know if, again, like what Gage said, I don't know if I'm crazy. I don't know if we're crazy. I don't think we are, but there's something that is just like tickling these people's brains, or like it must be the money, I guess, or saving the money that they just keep investing into this. But I don't think gamers in general want this either. So I really don't know what they think is going to come of this in the end. I don't think it's money in their pockets as they think it is.
Yeah, you both make great points of that, and like, even thinking back to my thought that I was like, well, this could be interesting in terms of like testing your game, or like checking for bugs or something like that if you're training the AI to do this. But then I think back and I'm like, well, then you have a bunch of game testers that lose their jobs, and that side of it,
right?
And game testing could be seen as like one of those mundane tasks or whatever, but that's a big part of the industry. Like, a lot of people get their starts in the game industry, testing games and working for the testing team. So yeah, even that's an interesting conversation, because it's like, I don't know that that's even a great answer. And like, if you have something that's written, like if you have an AI that's written to do something, and you have an AI, not an AI, but a computer program, like a game that is programmed with, similar languages, like, surely that computer is going to follow like a path that a human player wouldn't necessarily follow. Like, there's things that humans are going to do to try to break the game that I feel like the AI, at least not now, would know to like try, or even think to try.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny with you bringing that up, Dan, is that I feel like this is you accidentally just made a great argument for why AI shouldn't exist at all, because until it's a catch-22. In order for AI to get to the point where it actually behaves like a human and like is trying to break the system, like say for game testing, we're probably in Skynet territory because now the AI is determined on breaking things and going against its own code. So maybe let's just fucking pump the brakes on the whole thing.
Man.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is gonna come back from the past.
He needs to help us, dude. He needs to save us.
Yeah. Keurig says, this isn't really Keurig. It's his AI bot that is writing you guys. He's leaving the creative writing up to me. Nice.
Is that why he was such a menace last week, dude? It wasn't Keurig, it was the AI.
Oh, shit. So it has become sentient because it was...
Right. That was Grok last week filling in for Keurig, dude.
Incredible. One part is, so, you know, obviously a lot of bad shit on this, but one part that does sound intriguing, and I don't know that, you know, this may be, my mind may be completely changed once we actually see what this looks like, but Phil Spencer made some comments on how it could affect classic games. Specifically, let me find his quote. Where is his quote? Damn it, I should have pulled it up. Shoot, where does he put his quote? Spencer? There it is. So Phil says, you could imagine a world where from gameplay data and video that a model could learn old games and really make them portable to any platform where these models could run. We've talked about game preservation as an activity for us, and these models and their ability to learn completely how a game plays without the necessity of the original engine running on the original hardware opens up a ton of opportunity. So I think that little blurb is somewhat interesting. It does still come into the question of, like, should we be handing this prized piece of art, you know, a previous video game, into the hands of an AI, and will it understand and know how to recreate certain things exactly as they were on whatever platform they were originally released on? Because then you could also make the argument, well, just get another developer to port that game to a modern platform, which is also a fair take.
Am I understanding this correctly, that this, like, an AI would remake the game?
That's what it sounds like.
So it'll run on the current console. Okay. Yeah. In that case, I don't like it at all.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Oh god.
I'm just thinking in this case, the only reason why I was thinking it was somewhat intriguing is because like maybe there's like really old games that you can't even, there's no way to access these games anymore.
The code and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
Or whatever they used. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But the only thing I would push back on that, Dan, is that like we live in an age where, like, you know, private citizens in their own spare time have ported cell architecture PS3 games to PC while Sony hasn't bothered to do it.
Absolutely.
I don't know that there exists a project, especially when you go backwards in time, where there's gonna, like, I don't see a universe in which a competent video game developer is going to look at a Nintendo 64 game and be like, oh, this ancient technology, I don't know how to port it to the, like, I understand that pitch sounds great at like a board meeting, but like when you really get into the nitty gritty of it, I don't know what specific scenario would cause a situation where only AI can crack this game that's already been made at one point in time in the universe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
One that comes to mind in my mind is, you know, a game where the publisher pulls it from storefronts. You can't even get it anymore. So, like, if that physically doesn't exist anymore somewhere down the line, and there's no way to get your hands on it, like, how would you play that game? Like, because it happens a lot for especially like licensed games or you know, older, like even Forza Horizon 4, I believe, 4 or 3, I think 4. That's been pulled from digital storefronts because of licensing. So it's like, situations like that where, yes, that's not a good example because that's a more current game. There's plenty of copies of that out there, but like, if there's a game like that came out during the Nintendo 64 era or something like that, where you can't find a physical version of it, I guess.
Right.
But obviously, we're talking very specifically there, and probably not very many use cases on that. But I don't know. I think overall, though, I think we're all pretty much against generative AI, and I think that the video game industry and many other industries have to focus on how AI could improve their tools in making these things, not replacing themselves. Essentially, like let's find ways to help the creator with these AI powered tools instead of like just saying, oh, I'm going to type this into a prompt and then you're going to spit something out to me that may not even have any life or soul to it.
I think that's a problem. The three of us as creatives think like that and think how, like, AI could be used to really help the creative aspect. But unfortunately, I think anyone on the business side of video games is going to be thinking, how can we use AI to improve our bottom dollar, to improve our margins? In which case, the answer to that equation is always cut jobs, cut jobs, cut jobs. Right.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And it does seem like Microsoft wants to be on the forefront of that too. I would surmise they want to be the first to make something like that so that they can make it proprietary and license it out, and which is another scary thought. You get more of that kind of stuff, but I don't know. Hope it doesn't happen. All right. You guys have any other comments on that before we move on to the news of the week?
No.
Fuck the AI.
Just depressing.
Fuck the AI. Sad.
They're gonna attack us now. We're the first targets.
Oh god.
All right. Let's move on. The news of the week. We have some Marvel Rivals news. Both good and bad, I guess you could say. Although I couldn't care less personally about it, but I know a lot of people love this game, so I'm not going to shit on any of them. So the good of it, Marvel Rivals has shown off both the Thing and the Human Torch from the Fantastic Four. They both got little trailer snippets, and they will both be launching on February 21st, so Friday. Soon to have new characters in hand. I know Gage is going to be playing this like no other with his Marvel Rivals buddies.
I will probably not, but what I will say is nothing. I won't say anything, actually. I don't really care.
Garrett Willis cares. If he's out there somewhere, he's like fanboying around.
What? I'll raise you something, Dan. Garrett Willis doesn't care because they could add as many new characters as they want, but he's never switching off a Punisher. So what does it matter?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's the only character he's good at.
Yeah.
I say good very loosely. All right. Moving on from the good into the bad, NetEase has also made an announcement. But first, before we get to their statement, Marvel Rivals director and their team has been laid off. We have comments on social media from many of the developers that worked there at the Seattle studio, in which they were helping support NetEase for the game, and actually, the director of the game is included in that, working from Seattle. All of them have been laid off by NetEase, and NetEase has put out a official statement, and they have said We recently made the difficult decision to adjust Marvel Rivals development team structure for organizational reasons.
Daddy?
Oh, he's here.
Oh, was it in the middle of something serious?
No.
Yeah.
no. Well, yes, but
Oh, sorry.
no, you're
In the middle of an organizational series or something like that. Keep going, please.
Yeah. We're talking about the Marvel Rivals news.
Oh man, that shit. Yeah, that's fucked up. Please
Yeah.
proceed.
Yes. The development, they're adjusting Marvel Rivals development team structure for organizational reasons and to optimize development efficiency for the game. This is all NetEase's words, by the way. This resulted in a reduction of a design team based in Seattle that is part of a larger global design function in support of Marvel Rivals. We appreciate the hard work and dedication of those affected and will be treating them confidentially and respectfully with recognition for their individual contributions. I'm not even going to read the rest of that. I can't even fucking get through that part of it, all the bullshit. That's insane, dude. Like, they just laid off all of their American workers, and one of which is the literal director of the game, and they're like, "Yeah, we're just doing it. Sure, fuck it."
I did hear something, not
Uh-oh.
to excuse this behavior, because here at Podcast PXN, we're all pretty much on the same page with this stuff. I did hear somewhere, didn't bother looking into it because I didn't really care, but that this director was not the director of the game, but was the director of R&D for when they were coming up with the game. That he didn't work for the specific studio, he worked for the NetEase company, like he was higher than that. Not to say that laying off people is a good thing, but it is slightly different than saying laying off the director of the game while the game is flourishing. Apparently, there's somebody below him that is directly involved with it. I don't know if that's true. That's just what I heard online when I was doing a quick little reading. However, successful products should not result in layoffs in any scenario. It doesn't make any sense. So, at the end of the day, we still come back to that, where this is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
If you guys are talking about Thaddeus, if that's who you're referencing, I think it was confirmed he was some sort of level director, not game director overall, but level director or level design director, something to that effect.
Oh.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I think I heard that as well or read that somewhere. Definitely saw level of something somewhere when I saw that.
Yeah, I'm going through Paul Tassi stuff because I know he was kind of in it, talking about it. But yeah, I mean, either way you cut it.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah, I maybe I had the wrong source on that because the source that I saw said game director, but that could be wrong, I guess.
That was the original when it first came
Okay.
out. If that's the original tweet, and then you look into what he actually did,
Gotcha.
and it changes from game director into something that is actually more specific to what he did on a day to day.
Gotcha. And I don't mean to position this as Marvel Rivals, is doing bad all of a sudden. I just think it's kind of shitty that NetEase, a Chinese corporation, is laying off all of their American employees. That just seems really scummy to me. I don't know.
You think there's going to be tariffs on Marvel Rival skins?
Maybe.
10% V-Buck increase.
Stop.
Christian, now that you're here, what's your thoughts on the AI stuff? We gave our
Don't
thoughts.
pull me back into that. Okay, well, recap me. Give me the spark notes of everyone's take. Let me guess. Roshan said,
Big thumbs up.
Do it.
"Yeah,
Do it.
it seems like it's pretty bad. I don't know." That's my rough. Especially when you look at art stuff, and I don't know. That's my Roshan.
Now do gauge.
That's pretty good.
There.
Oh, God.
Want to see my gauge? Here, hold on. Let me turn up my brightness and my blurriness on my
Okay.
camera.
All right.
Jesus. Came out swinging. All right.
Here's my Gage impression. You ready? I need to open up this Google document first.
I thought you were saying I need to open up a Steam game real quick.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh my God, he's clicking all around the document.
My impression is just talking and clicking around the document. Yeah, I think it's pretty bad. The AI stuff is pretty. I mean, you get to the end of that article that came out, and like the initiative sounds good if that's what it's used for.
Right.
Like, that's what the goal of this sort of generative AI is to use it as a tool to make game design easier. My thing is like you're using, I don't know, a band-aid to, I don't know, try to hold down a dam. I don't think that's the issue with game design or games in general taking so long. I'm going to use another bad analogy because I was thinking about this as I was reading that article, is if you look at the way movies are lit in the early 2000s compared to how they are now, like the course of how long a movie takes to make is still roughly about the same, but the sort of the process for lighting movies now is like, well, let's just light it flat in an empty room because we don't know what post-production is going to look like because there's going to be so many things that they need to be CGI'd in, and all these effects teams, like they need to figure out that stuff. We can't light it naturally because that thing that we're lighting may not actually make the final cut of the movie. And so what you have is a bunch of creative team people in film who don't know the like classical ways of doing a lot of techniques, which is like, you can't make movies the way you used to anymore because people don't know how to make those types of movies. So my segue into games is like, you're going to get a lot of people who are going to be really good at doing whatever it is they're doing with generative AI, and it might actually work to speedline a lot of the process. Like, take a look at what the original Spider-Verse movie had, right? Like that helped them get that final product out, and it looked amazing, right? But then conversely, is like you're going to have a lot of people who are using it without knowing like the more classical ways of game design, a bit more like focused or have to think something be a bit more deliberate. Not that any which way it's better or not, but yeah, I'm just kind of worried that there are lots of other things that are making game design take as long as it's taking right now, and a lot of reasons why game design is kind of in the mud. And I don't know if using generative AI is the long-term solution to a lot of those problems. Is where I'm coming from. Sorry.
No, that's a lot of that is exactly what we said, except you expanded a lot more as well. And that point about the lighting stuff with movies, I hadn't even really thought about that until you said that. But now that you say that, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, because people making movies don't really, they're positioning it more as a CG play, like you're saying, where they want even lighting to be able to go into post-production and make something else out of it.
It's literally just the process of making movies now has changed so much that you can't do conventional techniques because things change so much after you shoot, which is, I think, a little bit unfortunate. I think it's a worse experience for the viewer when you look at things like Wicked, which obviously are critically acclaimed on several different fronts. They still kind of look the way they do because a lot of things change in post, and it's unfortunate because like set designers. I'm talking way too much about movies, I'm realizing. My point is that I think sort of these similar issues can translate into game design as well. And I think maybe Gen AI may exacerbate some things while making some things easier.
Right.
Absolutely.
Hi, Gage.
If we're still talking about movie lighting, that's why when you go see something like Nosferatu, you're like, man, this is a 4-star movie and not anything less.
This is that movie is shot insanely well. There's a
You want to
video,
talk
Dan.
about classical lighting and like old school film techniques? That's a great contemporary example to pick.
Why is
it okay for me too? Everyone else, yeah.
Gage is frozen in thought. We can hear you, but your fucking picture is frozen.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
This man's contemplating.
Can you still hear me or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's like a 7-minute YouTube video I might send to you guys in the chat. That's like, this is why The Parent Trap, the Lindsay Lohan movie, is one of the best looking films ever made, and it's just talking about that sort of stuff. Techniques, lighting techniques.
Go to school and be a lighting person and make a change in the world.
We do need those. We do need those.
I hope they get a job after. Are all those jobs gone?
Good
Greg
point.
Fraser
Yeah,
and
too late to the
and-
party.
Yeah. Do we have thoughts on Matt Damon's look in Chris Nolan's The Odyssey?
I'm hoping it's a prototype and has a couple more brushes to go over it, if that makes sense. Looks a little bit like fresh off the Party City shelf, but aside from
Okay,
that,
well,
looks good.
it's not like that shot isn't edited in
That's
for the
what I'm saying.
film.
You asked for my opinion
that's
on
like
the thing that we can see.
It's not even a still of the movie. It's like a shot of him. Like somebody took
I'm
like
aware.
a digital camera. Get the fuck out of here.
Based on what I can see, that's the only thoughts I have. I hope it looks better. The helmet's dope though, man. Those helmets are awesome. Sorry.
They're barely starting shooting, motherfucker.
My thought was, what's the sequel to that that medieval movie that just came out not that long ago?
Gladiator?
Yes, Gladiator. I looked at that and I was like, this looks like it's from Gladiator. I don't know.
Yeah, he does look a little Roman and not
Yeah.
I guess Greek. Yeah.
All right. Let's move into the quick bites here. So, our first quick bite, Victor Antonov, the art director for Half-Life 2, has passed away at age 52. Very sad. Sad day. Way too young. That's crazy.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's R.I.P. to a legend for one of the greatest games of all time, eh?
Yeah. Old timer.
Never played it. Well, never played the whole thing. All right. The next quick bite. PlayStation 5 has officially sold 75 million consoles to date. So they are on a very good tear, even considering the low chips shortage and COVID and all that stuff. Pretty impressive number.
Now they're about to drop some games, huh?
Are they?
One of these days. One of these days.
One of those games actually is Days Gone Remastered, which apparently people are getting upset about because it cannot be upgraded for $10 if it is owned through the PlayStation Plus program. Which to me, I hate that shit. I think that, you're basically shooting down your most loyal customers, the people that are paying for PlayStation Plus in the tier to get that. I think it's kind of shitty to not just give them the new version, especially when we're in the era where PS4 to PS5 is nowhere near the leap that PS3 to PS4, etc., before that. I think it's pretty shitty. I think they should have just had an update for the game to have, it look a little bit better on PS5 and, not have this $10 upgrade, but that's just me. Anyways.
First of all, I agree. Secondly, who's this for? Who's Days Gone Remastered for? Not I.
Wow.
Is it for
No, I'm
anyone?
not. No.
You cancel. First of all, you make Sony Bend make a live service game, a God of War live service game. Then you cancel said live service game.
Mm.
And then you release a remaster to the game that was critically mixed. And then a remaster to a game you canceled the sequel for? Or
Right.
turned down a sequel for? What? Okay.
Although, I would say there could be a reason for that maybe they go back and make a sequel to Days Gone. And maybe...
They're probably doing some sort of live action tie-in, aren't they? Or maybe
Could
they were
be.
supposed to at this point, and
Yeah.
they figured.
Could be. And because Jim Ryan era, he might have been the one to say, probably was the one to say, no, you're not making Days Gone 2. We want a new live service game from you guys. And he's now gone, obviously.
Yeah, I really feel bad for Ben. I think people don't realize how common it is for video games, not necessarily for the first game of a franchise to be quote unquote mid, but how common it is for video game franchises to have the second game be just so much improved upon the first. And I feel like a lot of I feel like there was a famous quote from a Japanese developer that said something like along the lines of this, where it's like you have a certain amount of releases to prove the concept of a franchise. I can't remember what the quote was, so I'm not even gonna attempt it. But yeah, Days Gone. I obviously enjoyed it a lot more than anyone else here. I thought there was some really strong elements to that game, and I feel like they probably could have improved a lot with a sequel. And it sucks that not only were they not allowed to do the thing they wanted to, which is a sequel, but as Christian said, they were forced to do a live service game for a different franchise that they don't have any history with, and then that was canceled, and now it's unlikely that they'll be allowed to go back to Days Gone. I would like to believe that maybe they are going back to the sequel, but I don't know. I've got a bad feeling that they're probably not allowed to do that because it was already said no to, and that's that. But yeah,
not only were you the one person in this group to receive Days Gone the best, I reckon you're the only one who even played it.
Sure. Could be.
This guy's still frozen, huh?
Wow. He's still.
Am I still deep in thought?
Yeah.
Why don't you turn that camera off and then on again, huh?
I'm gonna leave it exactly how it is if it's bugging you so much. You've been so spicy today since the moment I entered the group chat. You've been spicy.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Like
that's true.
wings.
Like hours ago, huh?
Yeah, all day.
Wow.
You like it?
Garrick does say in the chat, I own Days Gone on PC. If they offered a paid upgrade option, I'd take it in a heartbeat. Wow. There it is.
Interesting.
I'm not even gonna respond to that.
We already determined earlier that Keurig is actually a generative AI, and that's why he was such a menace last week.
Dude, speaking of Gen AI, hold on, I almost forgot. In one of the articles that was posted on X, the Everything app,
Stupid.
regarding that, if you go to the replies, the top 3 were like real people, and then everything else was just straight up like these are bots. It is so bad out in the internet. Have you seen that? There are 2 statistics I saw recently. One is that we're on the precipice of having more generative AI photos on Google than real photos, which is absurd. And statistically, there are more bots online than human people now.
Dead internet theory, man.
That's crazy.
Dead internet theory, yeah. I was in that seemed a little bit like a tinfoil hat kind of a deal. And then recently it's been, no, this might be real. Holy shit.
What do you mean? Elon took care of the bots, Christian. he removed them all.
I don't want to talk about him. He should. No, I think please move on.
All right, let's move on. Ubisoft has announced Rainbow Six Siege X is a new era for Rainbow Six with details coming on March 13th. They released a little bit of a snippet trying to tease people, and some people that have actually played this have said to pay close attention to this. I don't know enough about Rainbow Six Siege to know what to look for, but March 13th we'll know more.
I used to play so much Rainbow Six Siege when it first dropped, but that was at this point like 10 years ago.
Literally, yeah.
Literally, yeah. So I haven't played in a couple of years. I'm sure this will be great, but I don't know. I guess at what point do you like move on to the next thing? But at the same time, like, yeah. I mean, I guess they have a platform, eh? They have like a whole audience.
And there was
dedicated audience.
There was rumors that this was going to be called Siege 2, Rainbow Six Siege 2, and it would be like a sequel, but I don't know if it's going to be like fully fledged sequel or if it's going to be like an Overwatch situation where it replaces the original. I don't know. Be interesting.
I used to not really side on the side. Does that make sense? I used to not be one of those people that were like, oh, you know, it's fine when E3 trailers do the like fake people talking thing. Do you know what I mean? It's not that bad. It's not really that egregious. And then I went back and I saw the trailer for the announcement of Rainbow Six Siege, and I was like, I was so wrong. That is so bad. It is not good. These are not real people talking.
Right.
We got fire coming in. I need you to open up a hole in that wall. All right.
It's
Ironically, that was when humans were taking AI's job.
I love that tweet. That's like AI is supposed to be like doing the shitty jobs. Why is it making the art? Like that's our job to like make the art. What the fuck? Why are we the slave laborers?
Yep. Because they're gonna enslave us. That's how that works.
Getting us ready.
Yeah.
Easing us into our new role.
Yeah.
Skynet.
All right. We're gonna move into a big quick bite that it should have been in the news of the week. So good job, Daniel. You fucked that up because we got a bunch of stuff for Shuhei Yoshida. And Shu has been speaking in a bunch of new interviews lately, but in one of these interviews, he has revealed that Jim Ryan gave him an ultimatum. He said that Jim Ryan said he had the choice to do the indie job or leave PlayStation. Moving from first party to indies, well, I had no choice, says Shu. When Jim asked me to do the indie job, the choice was to do that or leave the company. What the fuck, Jim Ryan?
I remember when this was announced. I thought it was like strange, but also fitting because Shu was like really good at his job, and he was doing this anyway while heading first party studios, where he would be talking to indie teams pretty much all the time to get their indie games on their platform. I think he was one of the major players in getting Rocket League to launch on PlayStation Plus back in, gosh, I guess it must have been like 2013, 2014, something like that. So he was already in that indie space anyway. But to read that it was kind of a forced move is so disappointing, because if you go look at any sort of major Sony studio like documentary that they put out after like any of their big releases, specifically I'm talking about like games like the 2018 God of War and any of the Last of Us games, you'll see citations to like, hey, yeah, when we were like thinking about making a move to a new IP or doing this new thing with this game, Shuhei would be the one that would come in and give them the feedback about like what was working, what was not. He was very hands-on about like making sure like the team was doing whatever they wanted to do, but making sure that thing was good. So it is so disappointing to see that this kind of move was forced, because I don't think it was needed. And in my opinion, I mean, from what we've just read now, who knows the actual logistics, seems like that's one of the major things of why first party seems to be struggling so much in the PS5 era, is that like, well, you kind of kicked out the dude who was really good at his job to make sure we were getting handcrafted games released on what was like a semi-consistent basis, which is what is not really happening anymore.
Yeah. And if I'm Shu in this situation, I'm telling Jim Ryan to go fuck himself, and I'll go find another job, because Shu could have fucking went anywhere. I mean, this man had a big pedigree in the industry and still does. Like, yeah.
Which
Absolutely.
I guess shows how much he did care about PlayStation and indies and
True.
whatever he could have done there, instead of just leaving and
Right.
going somewhere else. But I agree with Dan. Like, that's such a shitty move from Jim.
There's actually kind of a little bit of a Phil Spencer comparison there. I've only been to like one major industry event, which was that Summer Games Fest last year. And I saw them both doing the business thing of like, I'm talking to the devs for the games that I'm playing and talking to them about like, you could overhear them like, how do we get your game? How can we help you get your game on our platform? And you would see, these guys running around talking to like all kinds of studios. Like, yeah, that is the hustle to get great games on your platforms, and sometimes get them exclusive, which is is big for consoles. So yeah, Jim Ryan's weird, man.
Yeah. Yes, he is. Some would say soulless. So moving from that into another little insight we got from Shu, which was some information on The Last of Us Online, which was Naughty Dog's multiplayer project. And Shu, this is gonna kill Gage and Christian. Shuhei Yoshida played The Last of Us Online and thought it was great. The idea from the idea for The Last of Us Online came from Naughty Dog, but Bungie explained what it takes to make live service games, and Naughty Dog realized, oops, we can't do that. If we do, we can't make intergalactic. So sounds like, they were like, we don't really want to support an ongoing live service game. But as we've talked about in the past, as you guys were talking about earlier, maybe it didn't need to be a live service game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If I'm assuming that everyone in the room is competent and smarter than I am, which is likely to be the case, then they made the right decision, I guess. But I would be lying if I didn't say that there wasn't still a small part of my brain that's like, were you guys only considering full tilt live service for this game with monthly updates and lore drops and adding new characters and new was that the only thing that you were considering for a Last of Us multiplayer experience? Because I really feel like there is some middle ground here where we could have had an extraction shooter with live service elements, maybe something like, once a year we'll add, a new faction, or we'll do something like, but I don't know. I feel like there's so much room for other gameplay experiences inside the Last of Us universe. It kind of feels to me a little bit like, not to the same degree, but when Dan and I talk about Halo and how Halo is ripe for so much more than just Master Chief. It's like, when I think of The Last of Us, I think of how we always talk about it, where it's like, has no one at fucking Sony thought about making a VR survival horror experience for The Last of Us? Because it's fucking right there on the plate. Has nobody thought about making an extraction shooter? Obviously they did at one point, and it's like, I feel like you guys should have pursued that. I feel like there's a lot of things you could do with The Last of Us universe for players that would be really cool. And it sucks that this is where they landed on this, because this sounds great, and apparently it's, according to Shuhei, it was fun too, which makes it sting all the more.
I have 3 responses to Gage. The first, I'll start backwards. Like I said, the Shu one is huge because, again, like I mentioned earlier, man is not easy to impress.
Yep.
First time he played God of War, he was not happy. Corey Barlog is on record for saying so. So if he thinks it's great, then we know it's great, because he knows great games. And then Gage and I called it because we knew that that Tilo 2 gameplay is so fucking good. Of course we knew that Tilo Online would be good as well. The other front is that time really is a cruel mistress, because let us not forget that this mode was originally supposed to be packaged in with The Last of Us Part 2.
Right.
Then they then pushed it and said it would be coming later because it got bigger in scope. And then a year out, then announced that it's going to be its own separate thing, because it became something else entirely, and they were doing some story cutscenes for this multiplayer project. And then it ballooned into what would be, I guess, the eventual more akin to a live service thing. And somewhere along the ways, 100%, you should have scaled back if you knew that this thing was getting too big. Or if not that, then just focus on what's working. You don't have to let it be a 10-year cycle live service product. It can be the one-off thing to, that a small team can support for X amount of years to help fund the next major project for Naughty Dog, which would be Intergalactic. And as you're ramping up production on that, you can have some of the team transfer over. You learn a lot of things over the years, of multiplayer fine tuning into more combat, intergalactic combat, and then you eventually close down the servers. After a couple of years, it doesn't have to be this giant make or break thing that the studio works on ad infinitum. What kind of fallacy in game design are we living in? Where that it's all in or nothing? Because now we get nothing.
And And to your point, Christian, this was supposed to be, or some variation of this was supposed to be in The Last of Us Part 2. And like part of the explanation of that was that this was going to be a full-fledged product. Like you're still spending $70, whether or not it's a live service game or not, you're still spending $70 on a multiplayer only game. Like you're not doing all the other development on, single player and all that stuff. Like it's the same thing I talk about with Halo all the time, is like you have single player, you have multiplayer, you have Forge, you have all these elements that make a game worth $70. And if you separate, multiplayer from a project and make it a standalone project, then it surely should be a bigger scope and doesn't necessarily have to be a live service. Like you can still support it without it being a live service game. You can make DLC for it instead of making consistent, ever changing world things happening.
In addition to that, two things. It doesn't have to be $70. It can be a smaller product. When Uncharted Lost Legacy came out, that was like an expanded project that was originally DLC, became its own standalone thing, and that was like $40 or $50. Like this could be the same exact price model: 40 for PS4 players, 50 for PS5 players. It's kind of a smaller thing. You get the experience, but it's still kind of a more premium product that can exist as well. The second thing is gone.
Bye-bye.
So only. I know I had something else. Oh well. And also it doesn't have to be a super expansive thing. Like we come from a history of a lot of single player games having a tacked on multiplayer mode, which was The Last of Us Online originally. Like that is a tacked on multiplayer mode, and it became so highly regarded because it found its audience. Like it's okay for things to not be massive or to be the sole focus. Sometimes it's okay for things to be supplementary to, your IP. That's okay. Like I'm a ride or die Uncharted multiplayer guy. It's not for everyone, but I had fun with it. Same thing for The Last of Us Online. It doesn't have to be super huge. It can be just its smaller thing, and then the team moves on to something else.
Absolutely. Christian, I'm gonna let you handle this last part.
Yeah. So Shuhei was on a podcast. I won't say which one, since Dan doesn't like him. Dan doesn't like him, so I won't say which one. It was like a 2-hour podcast, and Shuhei dropped a lot of tea. Let's call it tea during that podcast. I'll go through this quickly. The first is that From Software was burnt from Sony's treatment of Demon Souls, which is why they opted to, when they were working on Dark Souls, to go third party, because they were going to do a partnership for more games, but just did not like Sony's handling of Demon Souls, and so like, okay, well, we're out. And obviously their relationship is a bit better now, but that was a fumble on Sony's part to black sheep Demon Souls the way they did. We also have a reason why Japan studio closed. You could have guessed it, is that there's a smaller market for AA games, but Shuhei was like, literally like the market for AA games he said that it quote unquote disappeared, and that PlayStation specifically was only looking for AAA titles, which I mean hence why Jim Ryan was pushing Shuhei out as well. Like it was either indies or big AAA games. That's it. There's no room for AA. During my time, Shuhei says, people give me credit, but one of the things I was not successful at was having a successful service game. And the other thing is I was not able to have amazingly successful games made in Japan. Other than Gran Turismo, we had many great products, but didn't really have many AAA level successful products. That became more and more important as the big games became bigger. The indies filled the gap, and the AA market seemed to have disappeared, which is a bummer. Japan Studio made a lot of some of my favorite games. And then one more thing is that Shuhei revealed that he was one of the original people who signed off on the Concord prototype back in 2018 after seeing it behind closed doors back in the early stages of development. So it was not just Herman Hulse's baby. It became Herman Hulse's baby, but Shuhei was the one that originally signed off on it when it was just a smaller multiplayer project.
Interesting.
Japan Studio.
Rip,
dude. Rip them and Arcane.
Arcane Austin.
Arcane League of Legends.
No, not them.
Ugh. All right. The next quick bite.
Kidding.
Rockstar is looking into creating the next metaverse-style gaming experience within Grand Theft Auto 6. They're looking to discuss Roblox-style custom experiences. Interesting. I would surmise that this is probably going to be something that comes to GTA Online post-launch and not at launch. Interesting note.
Yes, I think this is exciting. I'll be the one to express optimism on this one. Is that when you look at GTA 5 and what they had,
Yes.
it's interesting. Red Dead's kind of an outlier. Red Dead Redemption 2, I should clarify, specifically the online mode, is a bit of an outlier in that normally with Rockstar games there's a clear progression. Like I said, they spend a lot of their time on R&D for gameplay mechanics and systems and technologies. And normally there's a forward momentum, but if you look at like some of the stuff they started to add to GTA 5 online, track editors, props, they had like a machinima type movie making system that they added well after launch, I think, where you could go in and like record the game world for a certain amount of times and then go back in and cut scenes together. They had a lot of stuff in GTA 5 that was just like kind of absent from Red Dead 2, and I think that's maybe because they felt that it wasn't the right fit for it. But I never thought that stuff was going to go away. So when I read this story, it sounded a lot. That's immediately what I thought of, which is that I think they are planning to move closer and closer to having some sort of Forge like functionality within Grand Theft Auto. And I think that's kind of a huge deal, because if you can have a game that operates at that caliber with its animations and its graphics and all that stuff, and you're giving tools to players to create custom experiences, like I feel like that's nothing but a huge win. And them acquiring the mod team behind 5M, which is like an online role-playing thing, also I think just points in that direction as well of trying to have these custom experiences for players. So for me, I'll aboard the hype train on this. This sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude, GTA custom lobbies are fucking sick. That's all I have to say. You guys remember when a group of people made Hamlet in Grand Theft Auto Online, and they
like a
turned it into
90% on Rotten Tomatoes or something.
and then it was at South by Southwest, and then it got major movie distribution. And it was playing nationwide, and it was critically acclaimed.
That's crazy.
Grand Theft Hamlet.
Crazy.
That is wild. We should have gone to see it, Gage.
We should have. Pop a gummy or two.
Well,
Go see
I was
Grand
gonna
Theft
say.
Hamlet.
You better watch out also, though, because Pokemon Go's developer Niantic is officially looking to sell their video game division. First reported by Bloomberg, this sale would likely include Pokemon Go, and a source talking to Bloomberg under the promise of anonymity. That's a weird word to say.
Anonymity.
Anonymity. Fuck me.
That's easier to
Anonymity. Yeah, that's the correct way to say that. Thank you, Gage. Said that while the deal was by no means complete, if
Oh
approved,
my god.
it would be what happened?
This fucking guy. Yeah, he's not gonna say anything, huh?
I'm deep in thought. What do you mean?
What happened?
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Go ahead. Keep on, Dan.
Okay. The deal was by no means complete, but if approved, it could be confirmed in a matter of weeks. Also, Savvy Gaming Group also purchased two of the biggest esports companies, ESL and Faceit, for a total of $1.5 billion in 2022. And Savvy Games Group is also one part of our ambitious strategy, aiming to make Saudi Arabia the ultimate global hub for the games and esports sector by 2030. So they're attempting to own Niantic.
Not good. IMO.
Yeah. moving to the next quick bite. Their War Song update is here for Hades 2, and it is out in early access right now. You can now face the final confrontation, meet Ares, and more in their second major update. Out now. Play it. Hades 2.
I would love to, but I'm still waiting for 1.0.
Also, I was laughing before because Keurig put in the chat, Gage, can you stop smelling your finger? Because it's stuck on that frame. Incredible. In the last quick bite here, back to The Last of Us. The Last of Us Season 2 on Max is officially dropping on April 13th. We got a poster here of Abby.
You can say HBO Max, it's fine.
It's an HBO original on Max. It's so stupid. Why did they do that?
Got rid of their branding.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
David Zaslav.
Yeah. We lost Gage. Rest in peace, Gage. Oh, he's back. Welcome back, Gage. But until your camera turns on, you're Roshan Warner. And Rose Christian, and Christian is Gage. So
Hell yeah.
that's just how it is now. All right.
How it should be.
Let's move into our fantasy draft check-in, guys. Fantasy draft check-in. Our league history. We have a few action items here, and a couple of them are from Rose Devil publisher, and that is Christian's team. On February 15th, he acquired Shinobi Art of Vengeance with a bid of $3. He also acquired Lies of P Overture with a bid of $3, which that could be a good one. And he also,
I'm gonna be so honest.
also,
Oh, I also did something else?
oh no, I'm sorry. That was your two. Sorry.
I forgot I did this.
You forgot.
I've completely forgot I did this.
Incredible. Did Ro forget his? Because Ro also joined in here. Row Your Boat Games has acquired Everhood 2 with a bid of $5. Incredible.
Hell yeah. I love the
We're all
first one.
making moves.
A lot of people did.
You what?
So hopefully I said I love the first one.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people gave it some good reviews. A good indie game. So hopefully the sequel is just as good. Also, Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza got its numbers.
Yes, and that is we're heading that direction right now, bro. And
We're sailing in that direction.
We're sailing in that direction. And as Ro alluded to, I'm scrolling down here. Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii has released, and it is an 81 on OpenCritic right now, giving Ro 11 points. That's a solid pickup there, Ro.
Finally on the board.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, tied for third, Roshan.
Well, wait a minute. Don't get ahead of us here. We're going to go into that right now. Just kidding. The points breakdown here. Somehow, some way, Gage Dempster is still in first place with 41 points. I imagine that won't last long just because, come on. Everyone's seen his teams. It's going to collapse at some point, right, Gage? Gage isn't there. Second place is Rose Devil Games, which is Christian's team, and he is sitting at 15 points. And then Ro and I are tied for third or last, however you want to look at it. Halo is Unreal and Row Your Boat Games tied with 11 points. Both of us have released one game. But let's be honest, I'm more worried because my game was supposed to be like super highly acclaimed. Not to say Like a Dragon shouldn't be, but I feel like you're more comfortable with your other picks that you have.
We'll see.
Unless
Okay.
GTA 6 gets delayed.
Oh boy, they're really certain. They have a good feeling about it. Didn't they say that?
Yeah, something like that. Incredible. I don't even know. We lost Gage, I guess. We lost him.
Yeah, he texted us saying his internet's acting up.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I missed that. Whoever's Gage's internet provider, why don't you actually supply good internet to him?
He does that better.
His Wi-Fi is shit. I've tried to tell. Obviously, he's hardwired in with his PC, but playing Xbox. We tried to play Gears of War Ultimate Edition, and he was on his Xbox. I'm like, dude, I can't do this. It was lagging so bad. Anyways, all right. Let us move into the final segment here. What you got for me, Daniel? What do you have for me? I have great news for you, Daniel. We are back. It is 2025. We are back finishing video games because I have completed Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Everyone clap because it's been about 17 years since I finished a video game. No, I actually streamed the last mission, really the last mission and a half to Gage in Discord, and then others joined after. I think, Christian, you might have been in there for my final boss battle. And I absolutely, the more I played of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, the more I loved this game. The first couple missions, the first mission in particular, I was not big on, or the first world, I should say, being in what's that city called? I don't know why
there's the Vatican.
Sorry. Yes, thank you. The Vatican was not exciting to me at all, but the rest of that game I very much enjoyed. And as I went on, I adored it more and more as the game continued to go on. And the side quests I loved, and the puzzles, and I just loved everything about this game in terms of that. Now, when I got to the final boss battle, absolutely hated that final boss battle. That was the dumbest shit I've ever fucking played. Like, that took me back to Quantum Break's final boss and how much I hated that. And I loved Quantum Break similarly, but that final boss, ugh. Like, him fucking in Indiana Jones, him kicking me like nonstop was pissing me off. And sometimes I was blocking and wasn't blocking, and don't get me started on that final boss.
Yeah, some would say, I won't take this one from you. Never mind.
Never mind. What?
Some would say the whole of Indiana Jones combat is not up to snuff, but
I don't agree with that. I didn't have any problems with the game or the combat until that moment. But I can see people not liking it though. I don't know. And then I've played more Balatro. I'm stuck on Balatro thanks to Gage and Christian for just continuing to tell me to play it. And I was like, I finally played it, and now I just can't stop playing it.
Did we tell you to play it? I don't remember. Or did you just like pick it up on your own?
Maybe I just picked it up. You guys were talking about it all the time, and it made me want to play it and check it out.
Right.
Yeah. So, still enjoying that. Made it to Ante 10. We'll see if I make it any higher. I don't know. And I played the opening hour-ish of Avowed, which thus far feels very much like an Obsidian game. I think my first hour in, I already pretty much know. I know this is crazy to say, but my first hour in, I pretty much already know, I think, what my impression of the game is going to be. I think that it very much feels like an Obsidian game, and like the writing seems strong thus far, and all of the good stuff that comes from Obsidian games. But I think the weaknesses of Obsidian games also comes through as well. And I think the problem is, for me, I'm not a huge fantasy RPG fan. So while I enjoy the combat, I don't necessarily think it's the most fun thing in the world. Thus far, maybe it gets better because you do get like more spells and stuff like that. I only have one spell right now, to be completely fair. but I have enjoyed it thus far. But I don't know that I'm gonna fall in love with it like I do for Outer Worlds, for instance. I love that game. So my early first take thoughts of Avowed. Bro, what you got?
You could just skip me.
We will never skip you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's cool. It's good. It's good. Oh,
Oh, Gage is in and out. Holy, wow.
I'm gonna see what happens here in a second.
Getting crazy.
Oh my.
All right. Well, one day, Ro, I believe you will finish a game like I just did.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your confidence in me.
Christian, what you got for me?
I've been playing a lot of stuff.
You're listening
Mainly,
to
one of
Podcast
the ones I want to
PXN.
highlight is just to continue the Balatro train is because you started playing it for the first time. I was like jumping back in just to complete a few runs because, why not? Everyone, if you're playing it, it's fun to like talk about it with you again as well. So I wanted to jump back in. Ended up completing an entire deck. I finally finished Gold Stake with one of the decks. So that deck is completely done. It took a little bit of time, and a little bit. Some of it was a little bit frustrating because of you would start a run and you would get a bad seed, which would make the task of getting the gold stake completed kind of seem impossible. Then you get some good jokers, and it made me really it's funny. I would say the first 10 hours of that game is I understand it now. And then the next 20 hours are like, no, I actually understand it now. And then by hour 30, it's like, no, now I finally understand the game. There's always like another layer of I've now have a new understanding of how these cards are working. I understand builds, so to speak. And that translated over into a new deck where I'm like, you know what? I'm only going to play one card. I'm going to do high card builds. And I did that today, just on a break, and I completed. I completed a run. I completed a run with just playing one card. Yeah, and I have a clip of it, and I was like, dude, I got to ante 11 just playing high cards over and over again. There's nothing but high card the entire time.
How?
And I could have. I dude, if I had if these cards were glass or had the red, what is it? The red
token or whatever.
I'm forgetting. Yeah, if it had the thing to re-trigger the cards, it would have been way more of a busted build. But it was. I was surprised at how well I achieved just playing high cards, and I got it done in 30-ish minutes. I was so bummed that I was a couple thousand short of getting to ante 12, but I can do it. So I might try on some new decks and see how I fare. But yeah, dude, I was playing a high card and getting 10 million, and I was like, oh, cool, this works.
That's crazy. Gage blew my mind when he sent that thing of him getting 2 billion. I didn't even know that was possible to get that high.
Yeah. I my goal is to get a build so busted that I translate the score into exponents. I've never gotten that high. But I want to.
You can go into exponents?
So okay, well, sorry if I spoiled that for you, but yeah, eventually you get so high that the game just works at exponents.
Wow.
But some of the cards that I think I would need for builds like that, I have not unlocked, because it's just some of them are just kind of, you need some absurd scores to unlock the Joker. But I have most things unlocked. I think I'm only 20 Jokers short of getting 100% completion of the things. I have everything else unlocked, which I'm on track for doing some cool stuff. Now that I know that I can do high cards, man, I'm telling you, I feel like something new is about to emerge from Balatro. Dang, I'm still talking about Balatro? Fuck. I also had to work over the weekend because I had to do Elden Ring Night Ring coverage, and I ended up putting 9 hours into it. So for work, it was me and my coworker Sam. We were talking about it for 30 minutes with Night Ring videos that I got, and him and I were talking about what is going to make this game successful or not, what's going to be the impact of it. The short of it is I think I really love Night Rain, because it's both the From Software that I know, but also them doing something new while retaining the formula. It's super interesting because I thought this game was just going to be like kind of a multiplayer kind of one-off thing that like is interesting, but I don't know how much legs it'll have. You know, it's the very Fortnite inspired, I thought, because you have like a circle that's closing in on you. And then what you get is actually a power fantasy version of Elden Ring that is a roguelite / Monster Hunter game. And I was like, oh, with friends, this could actually be a lot of fun. It is so good the way that game lets you turn into, like, it's almost like Risk of Rain, where like you can get like some overpowered builds going, maybe not as broken, but it makes the like gameplay loop so much different than Elden Ring, where like it still has the like challenging, you know, rhythm of like the combat. But then if you are good enough and can go to enough places before the circle starts getting closer, you can get some good builds going to like, you can fight the bosses. And when we fought the final boss, it was like, okay, now here's the actual like From Software that I know, like you need to have patience and understand the boss in order to get past it. I was thinking, Dan, about like sort of a question that you said over the weekend that I was thinking about, like, will new players even like the game? And at first I was like, I don't know if they will, because the game kind of assumes that you're familiar with Elden Ring or like From Software games already. But at the same time, though, like, you know, there's plenty of kids who are playing Fortnite for the first time who have never played shooters before. And like, just by playing the game and having people that are better than you play with you and like teach you things, you can get better at Fortnite. And I think this game does an okay job of like, okay, well, it still feels like the most approachable game because it's not as hard as a regular From Software game, because you can get overpowered fast and you have teammates. And there's like a whole training area where you can just like try every single weapon, every single spell, every single like weapon art. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game because I think they have a good amount of curation with the maps and the hunts that you go on, and there's still enough variety with the roguelike mechanic or system, I should say, that I'm looking forward to. Very pleasantly surprised at how good that was, and then just some other stuff that I won't bother talking about.
Well,
yeah,
and not to undersell what FromSoft has done with Elden Ring, because Elden Ring sold nearly 30 million copies by September of last year. So like, obviously there's a big market that they can hit with this. And then those 30 million bring in some of their friends. That could be big.
I think what's really interesting to them is that like they view this as like a small side project and nothing more. Like this is they have the game director of this game is a lot of the combat directors from the other games, and battle directors, I think is specifically what they called him in other games. And they're just giving him the plate to do some cool stuff and get fun with it. But they view it as a side thing because like they're using it like as to help fund them do numerous other small projects that they're also working on at the same time. So that's very cool that they have like now an operating system where they can put out stuff more consistently, which is crazy because they already have like, you know, a new game once every 2 or 3 years, but now like it seems like it's on track for like once every year and a half. Maybe we have some sort of small From Software project, but it still feels like their game, but trying new stuff. Yeah, I kind of you can't help but cheer that on. I want a special mention Murky Divers. Murky Divers is an indie game that Gage and I played. That is Lethal Company, but underwater in like scuba suits. And it is very scary and very cool. And it was like $6. So this seems like a game we might play over the weekend and not refund.
Wow. That rarely happens.
Yeah, we won't talk about the ones we refunded.
Yeah, Ro, you can join us for these game nights, even if you don't want to buy the games. Yeah, because we just refund them at the end of the night anyway.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Oh, Gran Turismo 7. Fun.
Gran Turismo 7. Okay. You know who didn't make it to this episode?
Gage.
Garrett Willis. He didn't make it. Thank you again to everyone joining us live, and I don't know why I'm saying that part. That's the beginning. On YouTube and Twitch, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcast. Thank you, Ro. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Gage, who has ascended. I am Daniel, and this has been Podcast PXN, and we are out. Much love, and keep on gaming.
See ya.
Stay safe out there.